Hello, everyone. Lovely to be here in the first Piwik PRO day. Very cool. My name is Simo Ahava. I am the co-founder of Simmer, an online technical marketing course academy thing. We still have to figure out how to call ourselves. And also the co-founder of AP Cheap, a digital services boutique. My history with Piwik PRO is kind of recent. Over the last months, I have worked on some technological applications for Piwik PRO, in particular with server-side Google Tag Manager. And that's actually what I want to talk about today. Server-side Google Tag Manager lets you do a lot of things, but one of its key features is the ability to take one incoming data stream, whether it's GA4 or Piwik or Snowplow or Stape, for example, and fan that out to many outputs. So today I want to talk about this phenomenon. I've called it data stream consolidation, and it's one of the ways in which you can really keep the client-side tracker very lightweight so that you don't impose like super big costs and expenses on the user's device, and instead you run all the logic server-side. And I'm going to run a demo, which is always scary, but let's hope everything works, where I'll show you kind of step-by-step how we go from a single GA4 data stream and expand it into multiple outputs so that you kind of have a good understanding of what the purpose of this server-side proxying is. And to do this, we have my blog as the sandbox. So this blog is where I am currently running Google Analytics 4 through a server-side tagging setup. And the kind of events that I'm measuring are pretty boilerplate. You know, we have page views and stuff like that, but I'm also measuring quite an extensive e-commerce setup on my site, simply because I want to collect those e-commerce metrics. So when we look at the data that's coming in, my blog is also sending e-commerce data, and this will be very useful for what we're about to do. So we have all these hits. These are all Google Analytics hits. And I've built the system so that they are actually forwarded to my server-side GTM endpoint. So I have, just to recap, I have a client-side Google Analytics 4 tracker on my blog. But instead of sending any data to Google Analytics servers, it actually collects it to my server-side tagging endpoint. And server-side, I have my server-side Google Tag Manager running here. And I have a very simple setup. Right now, I only have the GA4 tag running in my server-side GTM container. So when I reload the page and take a look at what requests are being sent out, there's only a Google Analytics 4 request being sent from the server. So I'm currently using server-side GTM only as a proxy for GA4, nothing else. GA4 hits are sent from the browser to server-side GTM, and server-side GTM forwards them to Google Analytics 4. And there's no special magic happening. There's no transformations or anything. It's just a transparent proxy. And why I'm doing that, that's a good question. There can be many reasons for using server-side GTM like this. Primarily, I do it so that I have control over what Google receives. And I have a full log of events collected through GA4, which I'm writing in both Google Cloud Storage and in BigQuery. So I have this method of taking control over this data stream, which is, again, one of the most important things about server-side tagging. So now let's talk about data stream consolidation. Let's say I want to start collecting a Facebook conversion when a purchase comes in. I want to collect that purchase as a conversion in Facebook because I'm doing advertising in Meta or something. I would never do advertising in Meta personally, but for the hypothetical scenario, let's consider that. My options are to install a Facebook pixel on the web page itself, so on the website, and collect that purchase through the Facebook pixel. Another option is to add a Facebook conversions API tag into server-side GTM and collect that through server-side GTM to conversions API. And the third option is kind of what Facebook wants you to do, which is both of these. So have the client-side pixel and the server-side tag running simultaneously with deduplication happening as well. Well, I don't want to run any Facebook pixels in my browser. I don't want to inflict those privacy and security harms on my users, but I might want to track conversions anyway. So I'm going to show you how to add a conversions API tag into server-side GTM. And now we get to the data stream consolidation part, which is that I'm not going to add any client-side code, any additional tags client-side. I'm instead going to use the GA4 purchase event and use that to kind of piggyback the Meta Conversions API event. So in server-side GTM, we need to first install a Facebook Conversions API template. So when we go to templates, and then under tag templates, we're going to search the gallery for Conversion API. Whoops, let's not typo. And in this case, there's a bunch of templates to choose from. Facebook actually does have multiple templates here. If you add the S here, you'll see there's also a Conversions API tag by something called Facebook Incubator. In this case, I really recommend you use Stape's Facebook Conversion API tag. It's the most complete and comprehensive and best updated Facebook Conversion API tag for server-side GTM. So let's add that template. Let's add it to the workspace. Remember to read through the fine print. And now that we have the template, we still need to create a tag for it. So let's go to tags and create a new tag. We're going to choose the Facebook Conversion API tag type. And now you can keep all the default options. We're going to add an API access token here. And we're going to add a pixel ID. As I said, I don't have any meta advertising going on, so I can't actually show you how this works in Facebook, but I can show you that in the collection side, everything works as it should. We have some additional settings here. For example, the state tag automatically generates the required FBP cookie. Another cool thing about the state tag is that if you have the Facebook click identifier in the URL, so FBCLID, it will automatically generate the FBC cookie as well, and both of these are required for matching the conversion to the actual ad view. We're going to add a trigger to this, and let's do a GA4 purchase event. So we are looking for a custom event where the event name is purchase, and where the client, so the technology that actually collected the hit, contains GA4 or equals GA4. So just to show you what this trigger does is that when a GA4 data request comes to server-side GTM, a GA4 client claims it, and if the event name happens to be purchase, then this Facebook tag will fire as a result. So let's call this Facebook purchase. Then we're going to save this, and we are going to go to preview mode in server-side GTM. And then we're going to reload our blog page here. And then we need to scroll down this article all the way to the end, like so. And then we would need to wait here for 60 seconds for that purchase event to come in, because that's how I've configured the blog. So as soon as you enter an article page, you scroll down and you wait 60 seconds. That's when a purchase event happens. But we're, of course, not going to have an uncomfortable silence as we wait. So let's take a look while we wait at what the events that come in from GA4 typically look like. So let's take a page view event, for example, because we're going to need this information when we start configuring other tags as well. This is all the information collected by the GA4 client when a request comes in. So we have a lot of kind of user agent information about the browser and the device. We have a client ID here. So this represents the device identifier for GA4. We have some custom parameters like a custom timestamp that I'm sending. We have the event name, session ID. We have the user's IP address. We have the URL the user was on, the referrer title. So the GA4 data stream is actually excellent for server-side GTM because it's so comprehensive. It contains so much information. You might be tempted to use some other technology like Piwik PRO, which is also a good option because it also collects a lot of information. So you use a Piwik PRO tracker client side. But if you are using Google tags in your server-side GTM container, you're almost forced to use GA4 as the incoming stream because that's how the setup has been built. So we're going to use all of this information in this event data tab when we add additional endpoints. But now we got our purchase event coming in. We can see that the Facebook purchase tag fired with the purchase event. It failed because the pixel ID was invalid. But if we take a look at the console tab, this is the information that the state tag actually parsed into the purchase event. So we have the event name automatically set to title case purchase. We have the website as the source. We have a timestamp for the event. We have an ID for the actual product that was purchased. We have the name of the product, brand, quantity, category, item, price. So the Facebook conversion API tag by state collects all of this information automatically. We have content type, content name, content category, currency. We even have order ID. Under user data, we have the user agent automatically set. We have the IP address automatically set. We have the FBP value automatically set, and so on. So we have all of this information available in our tag, and we also even have an event ID added here by those tags. So the Facebook conversion API is actually pretty cool because it automatically does all this stuff for you. We didn't have to touch any fields in the state tag. It automatically parsed them from the incoming GA4 event. So what we have running right now is we have a single GA4 data stream coming to the website, and we are sending it to both GA4 and to Facebook for specific events. So we are already doing quite a bit of data stream consolidation. And the biggest savings that we have are that we do not need to run a Facebook pixel client side. We don't need that. We can only run this through server side. Now, Facebook might complain that, hey, we're not getting any client side data, so we're going to artificially drop your match date so that you also add the client side pixel. But anecdotally, based on discussions with people who are actually pretty good experts running Facebook pixels, they have said that a pure server side approach is more than fine when working with Facebook conversions. So in this case, we are moving that heavy client-side logic of running Facebook tags, and we're moving that server-side completely. And you also have the additional privacy and security benefits of not communicating at all with the Facebook domain from the user's browser. And then let's say we want to add some additional information to the Facebook tag. So for example, we can add a user data object. So for example, we could add an email. Sorry, I'm in the wrong place. I'm just going to skip through this and go back to the client side. So let's say we want to add the user's email address to the Facebook purchase event. Well, in the GA4 purchase tag, we can actually add a user data object. So the same enhanced conversion object you would use with GA4 and Google Ads. So we could add a user data parameter here, and then set its value to a user data object or a user data variable, which I've already created. This variable only contains the user's email address and nothing more. So we have user data, and then we have the FB user data object here. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to preview again just to load the preview mode. And then we're going to scroll down. We're going to open an article page and scroll down all the way to the bottom to wait for the purchase event to come in. So by adding additional information to the client-side tag, which would be the GA4 purchase right now, we can actually add vendor-specific information, such as user data, or with Facebook, we could add Facebook content type, Facebook content IDs. We could add Facebook external ID. We could add a consent object from OneTrust, for example, the OneTrust groups object, and use all of that information in our server-side GTM container. But what if we have a situation where we don't actually want to forward some of that information to all the tags running in server-side GTM? Because if I now add an event ID to my GA4 tag, that event ID will also be sent to GA4. Well, in that case, we can actually use something called a transformation to strip out information that we don't want to be included in some of our tags. So in server-side Google Tag Manager, we can go to the transformations pane. And here we can create a new transformation, and we can call it, we can create an exclude parameters transformation. And here we can just say, let's remove event ID and user data from any tag that isn't Facebook. So exclude tag types, we are now applying an exclude parameters tag transformation, which removes the parameters event ID and user data from any tag that is not Facebook conversion API. And we can call this exclude FB and save it. So let's take a quick look. We have our purchase here. And now in our event data, let's see, we can find our user data email here. So this was included in the GA4 purchase event by adding that user data object there. And then in our outgoing request to Facebook, we now have automatically an email hash added to the Facebook tag. So Facebook is so the conversion API tag is automatically scraping that information from the event data object. We don't have to do any extra work. And now, if we wanted to, we can also, and now we also have the transformation in place. So we are making absolute certainty that the user data, the email address and stuff are not available to any tags except Facebook. And we could also, add another tag type here like Google Ads if we wanted to collect the enhanced conversions to Google Ads. So transformations are a great way to make sure that only some of your tags can carry those parameters that you set client side. So this is kind of a canonical way of doing data stream consolidation. We have an analytics stream, a robust analytics stream like GA4, which collects a lot of information and a lot of events. And then we have a conversion event that we want to move server side. And Facebook has been kind of tailor-made for this. Facebook, TikTok, Pinterest, for example, they all work really nicely with this approach. But now let's think about the topic of Piwik Pro Day, which is obviously something to do with the Piwik Pro platform. And let's say that we've kind of grown a bit tired of GA4 or we've become disenchanted with it, which I think is quite common. And we want to try some other analytics platform. But we don't want to re-tag the entire site because that would take too much time. We want a quick way to quickly verify whether Piwik Pro works, for example. In the template gallery, we actually have a Piwik Pro template. So if we search for Piwik Pro, you'll see that there's a Piwik Pro tag template by the Piwik Pro organization. And so that's the template that we built together with the Piwik Pro engineers for server-side tagging. So when we add that to our container, and then in tags, we create a new Piwik Pro tag, we can actually use the incoming GA4 stream and send that information to Piwik Pro as well. So let's do a page view tag first. Now, Piwik Pro doesn't have a specific page view event type. It kind of derives page view from the action name of the incoming stream. So it's not the same as GA4, which actually has an event name called page view. But let's see what happens. So we're going to add my account name here. I've already created a variable for my app ID just so that it's a bit easier to set up. And then we are going to trigger this tag only for a GA4 page view event. So I have a trigger here that's specifically a page view event from GA4. And as you can see, the transformation is applied automatically because this is not a Facebook tag. So the user data object and the event ID are not included in this Piwik Pro hit. Let's see what happens with this minimal configuration. Let's not do anything else here. We're going to preview the debug container, and then let's reload this page, and then wait for the page view event to come in. So here we have the page view event. We have the Piwik Pro event being dispatched. Hold on, let me just do that again. Waiting for the page view event again. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Why isn't it sending? Let me do just one more reload. This is the demo effect happening right now. Okay, here we have a bunch of stuff. So here we have the page view event, and now we can see in the log what happens. So we have the action name here, so it automatically takes the page title as the action name. This becomes the name of the page view event itself. We have the URL where it happened. We have the referrer as well. And then we have the Piwik Pro device identifier. So let's copy that. Then I have, well, I used to have, I don't have it now. Just a second. I have my tracker debugger open here. Now I'm going to search for the, hold on, let me go to tracker debugger. So here you can see what it looks like when you have a GA4 hit coming in with the page view data. So this is the exact same setup, just with a bit more robust data collection happening. So we have the page title taken automatically for the page view event. We have a URL for that. So without almost any customization of the Piwik PRO tag, it is automatically taking that information from the GA4 tag and collecting it. And we can do that a lot. We can collect e-commerce data. It automatically parses everything relevant for the product detail view. We have the add to cart. It automatically processes all of that. We have all of this user-specific information available as well. So what is happening here is that we are not running Piwik PRO on the website. We are running GA4 on the website. We are not running Piwik PRO with any extensive transformations or mutations server-side GTM. We are simply taking the incoming GA4 stream and transpiling that to the Piwik PRO format just by using the tag that Piwik PRO has built. So just to recap with data stream consolidation, we have one single incoming stream, that's GA4, and we are fanning it out to GA4, to Piwik PRO, and to Meta. 1 to 3. We could do the same thing by adding an amplitude tag. We could add a snowplow tag. We could add a TikTok tag, a Pinterest tag. We could add dozens of different types of marketing platform tags. And we could also add our own data warehouse tag, like a BigQuery write. We could add our own proprietary analytics system with an HTTP API call. And those are all running purely in the confines of the server, and there's nothing coming in from and there's nothing special running client side, only GA4. And this is what data stream consolidation is. Now, the demo part was kind of here, and I do want to share some theory as well. So I'm going to quickly jump to slides. And there are some principles you need to consider when using data stream consolidation, when you want to take the one single client-side stream and fan it out. The first one is that the client-side stream has to be rich enough. If you use a very stunted, a very low detail client-side stream, you're going to have to do a lot of transformation server-side, and you're going to have to add a lot of customizations client-side as well. For example, if your client-side stream doesn't natively collect a purchase event, then how would you add a purchase event server-side either? If you want to track what happens in the browser, you still need to collect data from the browser. So in this case, you might always want to start with something that already collects a very broad amount of information and then narrow it down server-side to only those events that you are interested in. And for this purpose, for example, Google Analytics 4 and Piwik PRO are great for incoming data streams because they are analytics libraries. They already collect a lot of information that's good for behavioral analysis, for data warehousing, conversions, audience building, the whole gamut. So these streams are dedicated for a comprehensive measurement, and as such, they are very good for all kinds of server-side tagging pipelines. But now let's say you only wanted to collect, let's say you wanted to kind of use your conversion pixel client side and use that same stream for server-side measurement. Well, that would only be good for conversion measurement because you're still missing out all of that information that analytics platforms like Piwik PRO or GA4 would require. With a conversion pixel, you wouldn't generally measure things like a scroll event, for example. It would be just too common, or even a page view event, because that would be too common. You would measure purchases, adds to cart, begin checkout events. So if you use a conversion pixel, that's way too detailed, way too restricted to have a comprehensive data stream consolidation happening server-side. And you might also then consider custom solutions such as image request, HTTP dispatch. Stape has a wonderful data client data tag combination. And these are good solutions, but they do require quite a bit of customization. They do require you to re-tag the site because they're not something you would have there already. You would have to create those specifically for server-side tagging. And in my view, the kind of best way to move forward is to avoid creating anything specifically for server-side tagging. Try to reuse existing tagging as much as you can. So that's principle one. Try to build a broad enough client-side collection setup so the server-side you have enough options for your different vendor endpoints. So if you've already tagged the site with GA4, use that as the data stream. Now, historically, I've been very critical of GA4, and I continue to be so. But the fact of the matter is that GA4's data model is what server-side GTM uses. The server-side GTM event model is almost exactly a carbon copy of what GA4 does. So just by virtue of using GA4, you're already producing data in the correct format for server-side GTM. And server-side GTM has built-in clients, built-in tags for GA4. So if you are already interested in GA4, it's the best option to piggyback your other events off. GA4 also has this disproportionate reliance on client-side processing. So much stuff happens client-side. So for example, if you wanted to use Piwik PRO as the client-side tracker, and then server-side copy those Piwik PRO hits to GA4, that's going to be difficult to do because GA4 relies on its own Google tag running in the browser. And it's very difficult, if not impossible, to do a full server-to-server setup for GA4 if you're not using GA4 as the client-side stream. So if you have Google tags running in server-side GTM, whether it's GA4, Google Ads, Google Remarketing, DoubleClick, Floodlight, you're best off with a GA4 data stream if you don't, unless you want to do a lot of hacking, which might not result in what you want it to. And GA4 also has a multi-purpose data model, just like Piwik PRO, so it's already well built for different types of use cases. So principle 2 is that if you're already running GA4 client-side, keep using that for server-side GTM as well. You don't have to run GA4 server-side. So if you want to kind of get rid of GA4 altogether, you can still run it client-side, just the library and the collection mechanism, but server-side, you kind of put a block in it so that it doesn't send anything to GA4 servers. And that's a perfectly valid way to do it. It does sound a bit redundant. So as soon as you're kind of happy with Piwik PRO, I do recommend migrating to the Piwik PRO JavaScript tracker as well. But that does involve retagging your site. So this kind of setup is good for just testing out Piwik PRO, maybe Amplitude, maybe other solutions as well. Principle 3 is that if you want vendor-specific information server-side, you need to do the enrichment client-side, but then you can apply transformation server-side to remove all the unnecessary information from other tags. For example, in this case, we have a GA4 tag client-side, and we're adding Facebook-specific parameters to it only for the purpose of adding those to the conversion API server-side. So we have a user data object, we have a content type, and we have the constant parameters as well. And we need to add these here because the server-side Facebook tag can't just magically come up with these if they're not included in the incoming GA4 stream. So this is one of the downsides of data stream consolidation. You will need to add all that information to the GA4 tags, even if you don't want to actually collect them to GA4. But then you have transformations at your disposal, so you can make sure that all these Facebook-specific parameters are automatically excluded from any tag that isn't Facebook. So you don't accidentally leak Facebook-specific parameters to your GA4 data, for example. So transformations are your best friend here. And the fourth principle is that always use trusted templates. If you go through the server-side tagging gallery and the web container gallery, you'll see that there are lots of different templates from lots of different people. Many of them are really good. Many of them not so good. So you'll have to kind of learn what the trusted templates are. And here are just a couple of ways to look at it. One good way to spot a trusted template is to make sure that the person or the vendor who built it is the same as the tag itself. So here we have Pinterest, Criteo, Piwik PRO, Amplitude, Quantcast, Snap, and TikTok, all built by the vendors themselves. So this is typically a good sign because the vendor wouldn't want, because the vendor wouldn't want to release something that's unfinished. They wouldn't want to release something that's risky. But then we have Facebook Conversion API, which I already said that it's the best for Facebook, and it's built by Stape. And this is because Facebook, for some reason, hasn't really put an effort into their server-side Google Tag Manager and client-side Google Tag Manager collection. And the same might be for other vendors as well. So another thing to look at closely is when was the template last updated? If it was last updated 2-3 years ago, you'll know that it's kind of dead in the water. It's abandonware at that point. So you want to avoid using that because you might be using an outdated version of the API, for example. So take a look at when the template was actually last updated. So the session today has been about data stream consolidation. I hope you got a good understanding of how you can use a very detailed GA4 client-side stream, and then in server-side tagging, you can just add different tags, all piggybacking off the GA4 data. It's not always just a magical transpilation. It doesn't always happen just magically. You will have to add some customizations to those server-side tags. At the very least, of course, you'll need to add your pixel IDs, your API keys, your access tokens, but you might also need to add some specific parameters or transformations or event names that the template might not automatically recognize. But for example, the Piwik Pro template that we built with Piwik is really good for taking the GA4 stream and automatically converting them to a Piwik Pro event. And I've been running it on my blog for months now, and I can see the results really nicely. My Piwik Pro data is almost 100. So if I were lazy, I wouldn't even have to touch GA4. I could just keep GA4 running client side and then just use Piwik Pro server side. But of course, the more I fall in love with Piwik Pro, the more I'm getting closer to the day when I actually want to retag my site using the Piwik Pro client side templates to send the data to server side GTM, where we've also built a Piwik Pro client application to take that Piwik Pro stream and collect it to Piwik Pro. And we'll also work with Meta Conversion API, with Pinterest, with TikTok. It won't work nicely with GA4, as I already mentioned. So if you have Piwik Pro sending data to server-side GTM and you try to add a GA4 tag to it, you'll get data in GA4 probably, but it will be very patchy and your session attribution will be all wrong. Simply because, as mentioned a number of times now, GA4 almost requires Google tag to run in the browser. So that's it for my presentation. I'm really looking forward to joining the chat room with you guys. And if you have questions about this, you can ask all sorts of techie questions as well. We can go over them together.